which was August 12th. Does anyone have comments or additions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Motion and second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, and now we're going to allow some time for public comment. We have a number of items each month on our agenda, and we're always welcoming residents who care to provide input on either the topics that we might be currently discussing or items that they think would be important. Sometimes we've had people come and report issues in their street, other concerns that they have. So I think we have several residents here tonight that are going to address this. If you would come to the microphone, state your name and address for our records, and if you could limit your comments to 5 minutes, we'd be appreciative.
Hi, Public Works. My name is Sarah Atkins Hoggett, and I reside at 925 First Street, Hudson, Wisconsin. The item I wanted to comment on is on the agenda. I didn't know if you wanted to wait until you're talking about that, or if I can just speak to it now.
You certainly can.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So it's on the refuse and recycling contract that we're needing to sign. And I don't know, probably all of you know that I was on city council for a time, and I think this issue came up while I was on city council, but at that time, we talked about it, but we kind of pushed it to the future, and now it's up again because that many years has passed. So back at the time, we talked about offering a composting service to our community and the residents of our community, not only residents too, but businesses as well, because it's really important that they are included in this, and grocery stores too, because they have a lot of refuse as well. But anyway, at that time, I was really wanting to do something and offering that service to our community, and it just came up so quick. And if you all recall, we had some other pretty pressing issues that we were dealing with at the time, so it didn't take a priority. But now I think that there is an opportunity to really take a look at this. I know I have been composting in my backyard since I bought my first house in Hudson in 1998. And I tell you from experience that it greatly reduces the amount and the number of garbage bags I put into my bin that gets hauled off to the landfill every month. I mean, sometimes I don't even take out the garbage because there's not that much. It doesn't smell. Composting is not as hard as people make it out to, because your actual garbage is so much easier. So there's payoff, you know? So anyway, I think that once people learn that it's an option, there's going to be more people like me who are going to take advantage of it. So I know, but without having a service, you know, to take your compost, it's not available to everybody, because I have a vegetable garden and flower beds, so I have a means to use my compost. That's really critical. Many people don't, especially, you know, when you look at the spectrum of the community. Some people are old, they can't garden anymore. Some people just, you know, don't have that kind of landscape. Some people live in an apartment. You know, there's a lot of reasons why someone might not be able to use their own compost. So, statistically, I was reading up a little bit, and today compostable materials make up more than 50% of our landfill items, and that's the cause of a lot of greenhouse emissions. So I know that, you know, some people are like, well, it costs more, or our service will cost more, but there's more to cost than money. Sometimes it's our values, and so we're paying for what we value. And I value us as a community and society even to be leaving the world a decent place for our children and our grandchildren. Like, we've created a mess and a problem, and we need to solve it ourselves and not push it down to the next generation or the next generation after that. So there's a responsibility that I feel is really important. And now I'm not thinking that we need to mandate that people start composting the way we have, you know, now with recyclable glass and aluminum and such, but at least give people the option. And if they want to pay for what they value, then they're able to do that. So I would just really like to see you accept a proposal from a company that at least has the option to add that as a service. And maybe if it's not immediately, maybe we negotiate with them that they have a promise that they're going to be able to offer that to us in the foreseeable future. I looked a bit at Waste Management's website, and they boast about all these composting sites. They've added 9 new ones since 2021, upping their resources to 49 areas that they can compost things. So, whatever is preventing them from offering it to us already, we've had them for a number of years as our provider. So whatever it is that's preventing them, let's solve that problem, if there is something preventing it. I'm not really aware, because I kind of stepped down and I haven't been paying that close of attention. I pay my waste management bill, that's about it. But I do know that, like I'm at my niece's house, or she came over here, she's like, well, where's your compost? And she was like, oh, they don't just pick it up at your street? And they're in Minneapolis. She has to compost her compostables, and they just pick it up, and it's just part of their service, and no questions asked. So I know it's possible. So whatever is the solution, that's why, we're hoping you were elected to find that solution. But if you can't right now, I guess my suggestions would be to first pick a company that has the options or will be able to have the options, and then find solutions, get creative. And if money is your biggest concern, see if maybe there's a price negotiation that we can do with whichever hauler to make it be comparable to what we're paying now, or what we will be paying as price increases every year. And finally, if that's all not possible, please don't sign up for another 4 years, because I felt really like I really wanted to tackle this 4 years ago, and now another 4 years is up, and now if we push it down another 4 years, we're practically a decade past where everybody else is at. So accept a shorter contract, and then make it be a point that this is something that gets worked on, because I really do believe it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for coming today. Is there someone else who'd like to speak? Thank you, and if you'd introduce yourself and provide your address for our records.
No.
Okay. My name's Addison Filiatro, and I live on 213 River Street. I don't have a whole thing prepared like Sarah, but we've been composting for a while, and it's not really that hard. And what do you like to do, Walter? What do you like to do? Say what you like to do. No. It's really easy as a chore to, he's 4, and he's able to just bring out the compost, and they switch, and they get a quarter every time they compost. So it's a super easy chore to get your children responsible. Whereas bringing out the trash and recycling isn't actually as easy for them. And then additionally, it doesn't always feel like you can do a lot as with climate change and everything, but this is something super simple that the community can do. And like Sarah was saying, not everybody has a backyard where they can compost, whereas we do if they live in apartments, and it's a good educational opportunity for everybody. And the website looks better, so it's much easier to do outreach. And then my last thing that I would say is just that I personally would prefer if we didn't go with Waste Management, because they don't always pick our trash up or our recycling. They sometimes, I'm not the only person, they sometimes just leave a slew of trash for us to pick up on our way home. And we've had to call quite a bit to get them to come, and then sometimes they don't even come until the next week anyway. So preferably, I would prefer to not go with that company, and I don't think that's one of the ones that offers the composting. But that's all that we have to say. And apparently we're not going to talk.
Thank you. Appreciate your input.
He only has one statement.
Oh, you decided to say
Oh,
something.
what?
Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay, Leonard, go. So my name's Leonard.
My name's Leonard, and no, that's not what I'm gonna say.
Okay, say what you're gonna say.
Will you please get off of here? I really like composting, and I do the same thing as my brother for 1 quarter. And Blah, blah, blah.
Thank you. It's good to know that a quarter is still motivating.
Right, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for your input. I appreciate you being here. We're always
Thank you.
wanting to
Thanks, guys.
take into consideration input from local residents, so thank you for that. We're going to start our new business, and the first item is discussion and possible action to approve a 2025 to 2029 refuse and recycling hauler. So,
Yeah.
Mike, would you like to lead
I'll
that
take it.
discussion? Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I think if I told my kids to do a chore for a quarter, I think they'd just look at me and laugh.
Right.
So I sent off the proposals that we received to you late last week. Hopefully you had a chance to just peruse them. We got 3 total. I will walk through the 3 different proposals and then obviously just open it up for discussion, which is kind of make the public aware of what we're looking at.
Could I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
I know we always try to treat, these are companies that have quite a bit of investment in their infrastructure and their trucks and so on, and we try to treat things with confidentiality. Are we going to discuss actual dollar amounts or reference them, or how do you prefer to handle that?
Yeah, we can discuss dollar amounts. I
Okay.
have no problem with that.
All right.
Once they give it to the city, it becomes public knowledge.
Sure.
So I think we're at that point in the
Okay.
process where we can share if need be.
All right, thank you.
So 3 separate proposals, one from Waste Management, which is our current hauler, the other one from Republic Services, and then the third one is from GFL. So GFL stands for Green for Life Environmental. Okay, so looking at the different proposals, GFL, they don't offer the 35-gallon pickup. They don't offer the 65-gallon pickup. They only offer 95-gallon, okay? They do not offer the organics. They do offer yard waste pickup, which is what we currently have with Waste Management at a considerably higher price. And then a couple of the other ancillary items they do offer at a cost. Looking at the different proposals, obviously this one is probably the least offerings to the city residents. So I don't think I'll spend too much time on that if that seems fine with you. Does that seem okay?
And is it correct that they don't offer the organic,
Correct.
household organics? So-
Correct.
Okay, so
Correct.
they don't.
Yep.
Anyway, so
Great.
pricing and other structural things
Yeah.
seemed less desirable.
Yeah, they didn't provide as many options as the Republic or Waste Management.
It's true, some people they don't put out as much trash, they like to have a smaller container.
Yes, absolutely.
Literally, the large container is too big for their
Yep.
space, their
Yep,
garage, or
absolutely.
wherever they store it.
Yep, absolutely.
Good point, thank you.
So looking at Republic and Waste Management, I guess the first thing that I will say is in regards to the curbside yard waste, okay? Neither company is proposing that we continue the sticker program that we currently have, okay? So that would be a large change for the residents. A lot of people do utilize that program. They are both proposing if you want yard waste picked up, that you have to subscribe to their yard waste pickup program. Okay? So that's the first big thing. Pricing on that is for Republic, it's $131. And that is for, annual rate from April to November. And then Waste Management is $132, so practically identical. Okay. Where the two differ the most, if you reviewed them, is in their pricing. Overall pricing, Waste Management is lower than Republic. Republic is the only hauler that does offer the curbside organic pickup. Okay. Reading into it, it is an all or nothing program where they will bill each resident whether you utilize the program or not. A monthly subscription fee of $19 starting off in 2025.
So can I just ask,
Yep.
a subscription fee means to me, I read that as you sign up for it. So, but you're saying that's not I'm not reading that correctly?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
So if the city chooses to implement a curbside organics program, they will charge each resident $19 a month,
Okay.
okay? Then, basically what happens then is whoever wants to participate in that program will notify the city, hey, we want to do this program, and then they're charged the additional rate that is found on Form B of their, and then depending on how many people sign up, that's kind of what, they get charged additionally to that base rate.
I didn't understand
I
that
didn't
when I was
understand
reading
that.
it. Wasn't clear on it. Go ahead,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was not clear on that either, because I was reading it, okay, alternatively, if you get 4,800 residents to subscribe, then the rates will drop to this. So the word subscription is very confusing,
Right.
but, so you're 100, not that I'm doubting you at all, but I just am looking for clarification. Subscription should not be considered in this. If we do this, everybody has to do this.
Correct. Yeah. Unless I am reading that incorrectly.
Yeah, and I read it the same way you did, Mike. I read it 7 times, and I thought,
Yeah.
well, that's unfortunate, because, you know, I heard everything that people, I mean, it is something that we'd like to have happen, and that's our want over here, and that, well, they're what, $5.50 more a month, and then you top this on there. I don't, that's unfortunate, because that's, that's something we need clarification from then on, because that's a showstopper to me.
Yeah, I
If
feel
they're-
like we,
If they're listening,
I'm going to talk privately, sorry.
yeah.
And I can clarify, you know, if there's any questions that you have that I need to clarify with the hauler, I can certainly do so. Obviously, this is gonna go in front of council for
Yeah.
discussion. So,
I think I would like that clarification. I guess, and I was basing it on the past, like the yard waste subscription, so that's what I was thinking it was modeled after.
sure.
They are using the phrase alternate 2 times. I was confused by that as well. I saw that, you know, their one wording is all in program, but then they said Form B is an alternate proposal, but
It says, all households are billed for the service, and 35-gallon carts are delivered to those who sign up through the city's website to participate. Rates are determined by participation reviewed for rate adjustments that occur January and July of each year.
So, to me, that's the one where if we make it so everybody does it, that's the alternate option.
Okay.
But it does still say on Form B, so I don't know what page that was in our agenda tonight, but, or I guess it was something
No,
you
it
sent
was
out
sent
to
out
us.
separately, yeah.
It was an attachment. It does still say there, all households are billed for the service under Form B. So it is confusing, the wording of subscription, and then that sounds like a different option when they used alternate. But they are still stating on Form B that all households, the start of the second paragraph, right before they had all their participation rate charting, that all households are billed for the service, and 35-gallon carts are delivered to those who sign up through the website, just what you just said, Mike.
Yeah. And
So I
that's
don't know
the-
how we can get around that.
I'll clarify
Yeah.
with Beverly what that means, what the actual dollar amount per month would be. Is it an all or nothing? Is it à la carte? You know, and then what is this price and
Right.
what is this Form B? What's the correlation between those two costs? I would be highly surprised if, let's just say, 10% of if they're charging only $2.25 to operate the program.
Right.
I would be very surprised at that.
Because they're bringing out the carts to people, they're providing those as part
Yeah.
of the service, correct? I mean, we don't,
Yeah,
the city doesn't
correct.
buy them in any way, they belong to the company. Right, that seems very inexpensive.
yeah, it seems like if you want it, here's this big price that will divide by everyone in your city.
Right.
Now, if you actually want to use it, now it's pay to play a little bit more, but, and in addition, they're, you know, it's not a ton of money, but it's, what, $82 more? Just on apples to apples, they're $82 more a year. Than
For the
this-
refuse and recycling?
Just the refuse and recycling.
Well, it depends
Then
on
we're
the
gonna
side
add
of
that.
the,
I mean, at some point, it's gonna be a dollar thing.
Yeah, and it does depend on the size of the cart. So for some of them, it's $5
Right.
more a month, which isn't, so we could maybe say a fair average would be $60 more a month with the highs, or the small kind.
A year, yeah.
A
Yep,
year,
Yep.
But the other thing I do think is important to note is for the seniors, door service, and the physically disabled, that's a no-cost service, and Waste Management does charge, I think, $15 monthly, so that could be an impact to seniors for us to consider as well, especially as our population is aging.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
One note I saw on the yard waste, which that is something I have been a yard waste subscriber for a long time, had the cart that we put out once a week, April through November, and that price has gone up, certainly with Waste Management, but if I'm reading their bid right, they're offering a fixed price for 5 years at $132, whereas Republic starts at $131 and goes up to $159.
Correct.
So that's, it's a slight savings for those who elect to use that. I was disappointed to see that the stickers, I suppose it's just becoming something that needs to be mechanized. They're using their, their driver is trying
Labor-intensive.
not to get, driver stays in the truck, they grab the cart, our yard waste cart is just like a regular recycling or trash, and so they don't have to get out and handle the sticks that weren't bundled properly,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah,
Take more
I'm
time
sure
for
it's a
people.
stack.
That is, unfortunately seems to be a trend,
Yeah.
so.
The door side service was no charge for all these years. That was something new.
Yes.
Yep.
Because it's, obviously gotten more and more.
More time and energy.
And bigger homes with longer driveways and things like that. But
And do you think we have very many residents that use that door side?
I'd
I don't know.
say enough of them. I don't know what, I'm sure they can give us a number.
Sure.
yeah, I know I have a number
You hear from people.
in my area that do use it.
That have doors.
And have they felt like Waste Management provided good service? Was that regular and,
Well, the ones that I've heard from, I thought they said I felt they were getting charged, but maybe there was some confusion on that.
I'd have to double check on that.
But,
Maybe it was
I-
$2 or $3
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. I think it was,
I
it
have-
was something that was minimal.
yeah. And I have gotten an increasing number of complaints of folks that aren't as positive on the services that Waste Management has provided. I've heard from multiple people about garbage not being picked up. It's happened to me multiple times. I don't know if it's happened to you as well. And I do really want us to think about commitments we made in the comprehensive plan as it relates to green infrastructure. There's a lot to be said about conserving landfill space. Maybe people are going to be able to use a smaller garbage can as a result of something like this, which could be a cost saving. What compost soil does is incredible, and just really improves the quality of soil overall, reduces methane gases. It's an easy way for us to make a big impact for all the future generations. I know I've had a shift in mind, as a parent and now as a grandparent, having huge concerns about what we're leaving with our kids and our grandkids to deal with, and this is an easy way we can make a positive impact.
Yeah, I like that we're getting, kind of like Sarah, as you said, at least we're getting closer than we were 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe it's not perfect yet. So I love the concept. I love, the idea that, it's going to be, the quotes, easier and more available. And I do see that. However, as we're seeing with these other people that have bid on this, I'm sure we'd see that if we had 12 bids. It's still kind of a startup system for them, and what happens with that is there's a bigger cost. So while I love that it's available, I get stuck on the idea that we're going to mandate each and every resident that pays taxes or has a residence here, I assume that's the same thing, that they're going to have to pay a service that whether they use it or not, they're going to have to foot the bill for other people that choose to do this. So as we talk about, the ability for the city government to provide what I always refer to as basic services, this to me seems, again, nothing against the program, but it seems like we're creeping into that we're now gonna mandate expensive programs that you must pay for, whether you want them or not. And I think in another 4 years, maybe this has been normalized. The bigger cities have got systems figured out. But if we talk about let's say $50 more a year plus, again, we're gonna clarify if this is everyone gets charged. I mean, that's gonna be a lot telling your neighbor, hey, I know you don't, maybe you don't recycle, you're paying for it, but now we want you to compost. Even if you don't do it, we're gonna charge you. I don't know. I think that's a discussion that at some point we have to figure out where that breaking point is.
Yeah, and I don't think, just to clarify, we don't know for sure that it is a mandate. So I don't think, that's one option that might be, and I agree
Right.
that that's probably not the right path if it's mandate.
Right.
I do agree with that, but that certainly is not how I read it, and so I would really like to have the clarification
Yeah,
on that.
let's do that.
We'll get the clarification. And then the only other differentiating services between Republic and Waste Management that I'll just point out is the low volume generator. So Waste Management has a low volume generator cost. So those residents that want refuse pickup like every other week in a small container, it's $10 for every other week. Republic does not offer that service. They just recommend the 35-gallon weekly pickup. So that's the only.
What the seniors do use
Yeah.
is the every other week.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing with the physically disabled and senior doorside service with the Republic, the one thing that I would be just alerted to or concerned about is in their narrative, it says that the residents must apply for service through the city, and if approved, staff will notify Republic service. So we're getting applications from residents and disabled. We're having to decipher who gets the program and who doesn't get the program. I don't
I mean,
like being in that
determine
position.
eligibility.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
I did say that.
It adds an extra layer of work in sorting things out and, right. I understand what you're saying.
And just maybe for the public so they can understand, I know when we've talked with Waste Management, if I am recalling correctly, the reason why they don't offer compost to Hudson is they have said it's something about crossing state lines. Is that what I'm remembering from the past? Do you remember when we have gone
Was it
to
something
them?
like that? It was probably in an email thread that we had with
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can keep talking. I'll see if I can dig it up.
Yeah, well, it's,
It's not off the top of my head. I
Yeah,
don't
and I'd like to
recall.
know more about that, because this seems to me to be I just talked to someone about a soccer game, and we talked about the Field of Dreams, that composting might be in the, I'm gonna use a pun here, organic stage where people that are invested in it and wanna do it, and it gets the families involved. If our current hauler or our future hauler doesn't have it all figured out right now, the city could probably spend a little bit of time on just figuring out what to do if you do want to do it. Because if the haulers aren't taking it, as Allison, was that Allison that spoke earlier?
Addison.
Addison, thank you. So you can still go through and do it, and then, yeah, there's a point where, okay, now that I've done it, what do I do with my dirt or my compost? But, if we could just even come up with a step 1, 2, or 3. So someone motivated to do this,
Right.
every month you could bring your compost to the public garden, or the River Falls has a place, or something like that. It's not as convenient, I get that, but I want to allow people to do that, but not mandate, if that's the case, that everyone pays the price for that. So
Well,
maybe there's a solution other than just our hauler to figure out how we introduce compost in the city.
one of the things Mike and I have talked about in the past, this Mike, not you, Mike, not to be
The
confused.
smart one, not me. Okay.
Not true, not true. You're both smart. Is a lot of cities do host a city compost, and there's like a collection site and all of that. And this was a way to not have the city get involved and just have our handled by our waste supplier, because
Right.
it's frankly is easier from a city perspective. But another
Sure,
option
right.
could be, as we're developing our plans for our waste management or our public works facility, is there a spot there that we could do composting?
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, there are alternatives, but that's more work.
That makes, yeah.
And
Everything
then-
comes at a cost, just
Yes.
depends on where it
Yeah,
goes.
Yeah, so,
Good point.
Well, in that same vein, I do think we maybe discuss it at another meeting, but I mean, we've certainly faced issues of handling down tree branches and things like that when there's a storm, and you've set up some marshaling sites where people can bring in, excessive material. But for an average homeowner who does not pay, I think right now this year I might have paid $130, $125, or $130 for the yard waste annual fee. If someone doesn't have that and it's not available to be picked up at the curb, we are going to need to talk about what to do there, because people, where do I put my leaves? You can no longer put your leaves in a bag and put them at the curb. So, I mean, right now it seems like we don't. I'm not putting that as on our agenda today. We should talk about it though.
Yep.
Again soon. I mean, I do know there are some farmers that sometimes come through and pick up things. They have arrangements with people in their neighborhoods and so on that they might take items. I know a goat farmer that picks up Christmas trees. But these are issues we should talk about. And one of the difficulties is we don't have a lot of space with empty lots that aren't immediately adjacent to someone's home.
Right.
And we run into that even with those very short-term marshaling yards where, for storm down trees and branches. So at any rate, I think that's an ongoing topic. We certainly, we have discussed this a little bit several times in the past, knowing that our contract was due. You worked hard to get this RFP and the forms ready for them to provide to us. What are we looking at for a deadline to get back with the selected
I would
company?
want to discuss this at the next scheduled council meeting on new business.
Next Monday.
Next Monday.
Okay.
And so I'll reach out to the contractors for some clarifying questions that you brought up tonight. And then, if the city, if we are leaning towards obviously going with a different carrier, that's going to take a lot of time and communication to swap, right? So as much time as I and Deb can get before that, if that's the route we take, is better for us. So.
Do you handle all the requests, or is it set up on the website? Let's say I want a larger cart than I had before, or a smaller one. They do it.
They go directly through Waste
They set
Management.
up a website for Hudson residents.
Yep.
Okay.
We do a lot of phone call, well, not a lot of phone, 25, 30 a year, somewhere in there. And we direct, based on what the phone call is, to different waste management staff to take care of. So if there's any problems with pickup or stuff like that, call our office and we can forward it on to the appropriate people. So, and then just the other thing with I was thinking about the curbside program and no longer having the stickers available. For those of you longtime residents of Hudson, we did have a drop-off spot a long time ago. Deb, you can probably recall. Sarah?
I recall it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do too.
It sounds good in theory. In practice, it's further from the truth. You have to man it. It's very costly to the city. Has to pick up that bill for all the disposal. And then during off-peak times when it wasn't manned, people are just leaving stuff outside the gates and stuff like that. So, city attack.
Potentially toxic materials, whatever, chemicals, who knows?
Couches, it became a dump site. So,
Bags, just the black bags alone.
yeah. So anyway, it's,
Right.
It's a bummer.
I do recall that. That was
really-
not something,
Right.
again, we have limited space, and right now we don't have a facility
Correct.
for that. But again, I think we should keep discussing
yeah.
these options. Do you feel like we should take a vote tonight? Do you guys want to make a motion, or are you comfortable with just having it, a thorough discussion and presenting it to council? I'm open to a motion if you would care to.
I think I would feel more comfortable kind of having the additional knowledge before doing a motion. I do want to thank Mike and Deb for going to all this effort and going out for an RFP, looking at our options. I feel like that's important for our taxpayers. So I know that's more work, and I'm really grateful that you did that. And then I had a second point that has slipped my mind, but I think that was my most important one that I just wanted to
Thanks.
thank you, because that was a lot of extra work. But I am really heartsick about the bags. Oh, this is what it was. Can we ever go back and say, look, these are things we want you to reconsider, or does it not work that way? Can you go back and
We can all, what's the phrase about not asking a question, or is, I think we can always ask, absolutely, and see if they would be willing to continue those programs. It's just at what cost. And maybe, I think it comes down to more of a staffing type
Okay.
issue with the companies that, because they're sending, basically got more people out to do manual lifting or that type of stuff. So I'll ask though, absolutely, doesn't hurt.
Are you comfortable also,
Just
Mike?
table it till next Tuesday?
Monday.
Or Monday?
Monday.
Or whatever. No, next Monday, and then we'll dig down, get the straight facts.
Get some more, because the council was going to approve it anyway.
Yep.
We were just going to
And
make a
then we can-
recommendation tonight. So good
Yeah.
discussion, and then we'll have some more details clarified.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best.
So
Any
Yeah.
motion to table the,
what would be the,
No, I don't think so.
all right.
We should just be able to put it on.
I guess we could just take no action,
Okay.
perhaps?
Yeah,
We'll just put it on.
Because if we table it, we have to take it off the table, I think.
Yeah,
Is that a
Okay.
Robert's rules?
yeah.
I'm not an expert.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
How have we worked with Republic Services before? And, if people are complaining about the waste management, not picking it up, how would we maybe know that Republic Services is better, if not worse?
They do list references in their proposal that I could reach out to. But I'm sure every company is going to have their
Right,
problems.
exactly,
Right, it's
so,
not 100% bulletproof. It's just how they deal with those problems and how quick they are to answer those questions or react to those problems is probably the better answer that we're looking for.
Just sounds like that's a big concern.
I was actually impressed that recently, and it's my husband's email, but Waste Management did not come through our little cul-de-sac. I think they missed the whole neighborhood, from what I could tell on my dog walk, on our usual pickup day, but he received an email saying, we're going to be there tomorrow. So I thought that was interesting. I hadn't known them to be reaching out and contacting people. Whether that's something new that they're trying to improve service, maybe they're going to be collecting emails for allowing that communication, I don't know. I mean,
They already, they.
have they been doing that all along for residents?
I've been through this since day one that I started here. And,
Tell us, Deb.
well, we've been up and down, with services and change in management and change in, ownership and everything. So
Right.
I'd say recently, don't you believe that it's got really improved? Because they have another operations manager
Tim
who wants
is,
to be
yeah.
really
Directly
really involved.
Yeah.
And,
He's like, any problems, call me.
yeah.
I'll take care of it.
And so far, it's been great.
So if a resident called you, you do have someone to call?
Yep, we don't
Yep.
really call, we just directly
Directly,
send them
yeah.
over there, and sometimes they'll respond and say it's been handled, otherwise it's like, we'll take care of it. And,
Okay.
the residents are gonna call back if they didn't get what they wanted,
Sure.
There's a couple here and there that just been battles, but.
Yeah, okay.
well, I think they've
Good
been
input.
sending automated phone or text, I think phone messages,
Yep.
when there's a holiday or a,
Right.
Coming a day late, something
yeah,
like
so
that.
I think they have
check,
upped their
too.
game a little bit. And again, I think it's true. I think, like you said, Mike, there's gonna be,
Yeah,
it's like any industry, any business, we're gonna get it right 99% of the time, and if you're one of those 1%, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to fix it.
And I'm sure, just like all the other industries out there, we just recently, for our vacant public works position, we had a gentleman leave, so we're backfilling his position. We had a waste management driver apply for it, and brought him in to interview. The reason he was looking is they were running 80 to 90 hours a week. And so they're high turnover rates, guys are getting out of it, and so I'm sure there's new drivers all the
Yep,
time.
yeah.
Okay.
So
That could explain
Garbage
the,
service,
yeah.
it's the uniform service, it's every service that we have.
Yeah.
It's this
high turnover,
constant
yep.
Right.
turnover
Oh,
of,
some- yeah.
sadly.
Construction
excuse, but-
workers, can I put that one up?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, enough said.
kind of labor
Yeah.
jobs, yeah.
there's a lot. It's true, that could certainly explain why they're not doing the
Sarah.
pickup. Good night, Sarah.
Hi, thank you, Sarah.
Okay, so we are going to move on to the second item under new business, which is discussion, possible action of a 2025 to 2026 infrastructure projects. And this will be our capital improvement plan or
Yes.
potential plan.
Yep.
So Erin is going to take this discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is just outlining, there's been, the preliminary budget shows that we are going to have 2.5 million in 2025 and 2.5 million in 2026 to spend on infrastructure. That does not include 50,000 annually for alleys, 50,000 for sidewalk and curb projects, and 50,000 for trail maintenance. So that 150,000 is above and beyond the 2.5 million. So I just want to throw that out there because we're not really mentioning that in any of the projects. And this is just a proposal, so we're not necessarily, you know, it's for discussion. And what we have listed in here, we've really tried to kind of spread the money as much as we can throughout the city and for different types of projects. We've kind of looked at the 2023 to 2027 CIP that was approved a few years ago, so trying to build off of that. And also I will mention there's a few items that are unknown, like we should have a certain dollar amount for like Park Place Village and Bella Rose from the developer, so they kind of put in escrow like funds that we can use on street maintenance. I'm still trying to track down that number. It's probably less than 100,000. I think I'm almost positive it will be less than 100,000, but it could be, you know, 50,000 that we will then kind of take into account with everything. And then also the outline here, we can't do everything with the 2.5 million as outlined here. So there are a few things we do need to discuss as far as what we would be willing to remove from this plan. This was just trying to get us close and leave it a little bit open to look at some options. And then the kind of next thing to think about with this plan is if we would like to do a bigger project in 2027. So I've handed out kind of a schedule of what, say right now our plan is to do Locust Street in 2027 based on the previous approved CIP. But a project like that in our downtown area would really need a lot more pre-planning than maybe just a typical, like, we're leaving the curb in the same spot, we're just coming in and reclaiming and putting new pavement. So I have kind of looked at how much money we would need to spend in, like, honestly 2025 and 2026 to kind of backtrack the design, backtrack, you know, we would want to do more public engagement for that type of project. You know, what does the community now want, as like doing one of the main roads in our downtown is really gonna set the stage for like the rest of the improvements downtown, and what do we want that to look like? So there is a lot more effort, a lot more time that needs to be put in a project like that. And so the money that I put in this tentative schedule, and we did some updating cost estimating recently to kind of see where we would be at with the Locust Street project, taking into account design, taking into account inflation. And so that is also something we would need to kind of build into our 2025 and 2026 infrastructure planning. We can't just say, hey, we have 3 million in 2027, you know, but we can't use that in advance because we don't have it yet. You know, so you really have to think about the planning of the future projects. So that's something to take into account as we kind of look at some of the amount of money we need to kind of shift around in the projects we can do, so.
And so just to clarify
Yeah.
for the public, what you're saying is this is money that we would be bonding for.
Yes.
Capital improvement plans, and we had set sort of these goals of how much we thought we would spend. Some of us have
Yes.
said maybe we should spend more.
Yep.
Because of our challenges with our streets.
Yep.
But also we have other major expenditures coming down the road, so.
Yep.
At any rate, so that's why you're saying you can't, we have to somehow authorize use some funds or the staff
Yep.
in 2025 to get this project started.
Yes.
Even if the real major spending would be
In a different year.
a couple years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and then, also, what was I gonna say quick? I just lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I understand.
No, yeah. Were you gonna say something? Oh, okay.
So would you say that 150,000 that you'd anticipate needed in 2025 should be under this column or potentially?
Yeah.
As we make decisions?
Yep, and that's where I don't know exactly where our timing of, I guess, approving a 2027 project, because we kind of have to start pre-planning it, so it's a little bit like we're doing 2 years of CIP, but we almost need to approve projects further out than that, so just trying to kind of work through that whole process, I guess, and figure it out.
We need to get towards a more, work towards a more concrete CIP that we're gonna stick to. Because like Aaron said, it becomes very challenging for us as staff to, budget all the design work, all the pre-engineering work, especially on these more complicated projects. We can't just, let's just say for example, we approve a bond to do Locust Street, this year. We can't design it, bid it out, construct it in that short amount of time frame. We need to do this work ahead of time. So once we need to have a more, like I said, concrete plan in place and not deviate it from it too much. Obviously, it's flexible based on, how much money is available, the economy, this and that. We want to be flexible. But just from a planning perspective, we want to be more concrete. So.
I remember what I was gonna say. So the 2.5 million that you mentioned, Joy, that we're bonding for, we actually technically aren't going to bond for 2.5 because we did receive grants, and we did go through our budgeting of all of our maybe rollover funds and grant money, so that is going against the bonding amount. So technically we aren't bonding specifically for 2.5 million each year, so.
Yeah. So in 2025, there's approximately 950,000
Yeah. Yep.
in remaining funds from previous CIPs, mainly due to the grant that we received for Vine Street. Okay, we were able to save $650,000 right there alone. So that money and some other project savings, we have about 950,000. So instead of bonding 2.5 and then adding another million to be 3.5, okay, we're only bonding. We're taking that 9.5 off of the 2.5, so then we're only bonding for 1.6
Okay.
to get to our 2.5 total in 2025. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Sure, or if we chose to, again,
Right.
it's
Yep.
the full council decision, and we're looking at our budget this
Right.
fall, but if we chose to, again, thanks to the hard work and obtaining grants, it's been very helpful. When we can get them, we could spend, that difference on a different project or whatever we felt was
Yeah.
urgent.
Right.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
that was the point I was going to make exactly. So we could, because we committed to, upping our infrastructure money on roads to that 2.5 this year and 2.5 next year as well, right? So we could have that extra, exactly what you said.
Chose to, yeah.
Yeah, if we chose to. And that's what our community that's what we've been very abundantly clear we were going to do.
We've heard from lots of people with
Yeah.
requests and concerns.
Yeah.
Streets that are,
Right, we're not at the point
Worrisome.
yet where we're finding places to spend money on. We have them. We have the places to spend the money on, so.
we got a list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
maybe in
true.
10 years, then we'll have that issue, but yeah, I follow that.
Okay.
so.
Interesting point. Well, do you want us to discuss those items, for example, the ones under the 2025 list, or is
Yeah.
that just for our
Yeah,
information
I can
today?
definitely just go through them quick, what we are kind of proposing here. So 2025, we are already committed for 660,000. That's just the city share for 11th Street. So that's already, that's the project we've been working on design. WISDOT is basically gonna lead the construction for that. So we are committed to that in 2025. And then we are committed to doing a street, trying to keep up with our streets and prolong the lifespan. So we are recommending a street maintenance, and so that's outlined, let's see, in the orange on the map. And so that's kind of spread out to mostly roads that are newer, that we're kind of trying to jump up the lifespan on, but also kind of spread throughout the community. And so, and then O'Neill Road would be 2025. That still would be a little bit pending. We did actually get the contract going with getting the borings. So once we get the geotechnical work, we'll kind of go through what does the pavement design need to be for that type of area and kind of refine the cost estimate there. So right now, we're gonna assume that we can do reclamation and bituminous pavement at the moment. That's what kind of fits in the budget. So then moving on to 2026, question?
Are you thinking that it could be more expensive because there's such truck traffic that you might need to do something more significant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And what the,
Exactly. We'll
what
kinda-
the existing road condition is.
Yeah, what's the
Oh,
existing?
plus that,
Did they
okay.
build it over 2 inches of aggregate?
Okay.
Where it should be 12, you
Gotcha.
know, and things like that. So we'll kind of evaluate that a little further. The curb and gutter, we're showing full replacement, cause it's just in really bad condition. And so half of that would be accessible costs, but, you know, we don't really plan for that just in case something happens and for some reason that doesn't get approved, you know? So that's not something that's factored into here either, is assessments. And then 2026, it doesn't seem like we've done a mill and overlay project in a while, so we felt like that could be a good way to really spread out the money, since that's a lot less cost, because you're only milling like 1.5, 2 inches of bituminous and then putting on new, so it's pretty quick construction. So we tried looking at roads around the city that were kind of like that 4 or 5 pacer rating. That's kind of like an ideal time to do a mill and overlay. And we looked at kind of putting that all around the community as well. So you can kind of see Hudson Meadows. We picked Coach Light Drive, you know, Laurel, Laurel isn't the mill and overlay. So the mill and overlay,
Nemacoggin Loop,
yeah,
Birch
my printed
Drive.
copy, the colors look the same.
Alley Drive.
Yeah, the Birch Drive Willow. So that's kind of how we evaluated it based on the pacer ratings of those roads and just kind of spreading it out through the community.
Because every district has 3s
Right,
and 4s and 5s, you know.
Yeah. And then the other ones that are kind of almost like alternatives we could choose in 2026, like Hazel Crest Drive would need to be more of a reclamation because that's actually a pacer rating of 3. So it's just in poor condition, like a mill and overlay would not work on that. And another option, Malibu Drive, that's also a pacer rating of 2. So that would kind of have to be like remove the pavement completely and put down new. So those are some options. 17th Street was not in our CIP. It was just kind of that Laurel Avenue from 11th to 13th, but we felt like 17th is starting to get bad, and that really is like a, you know, pretty main collector road. So trying to add that to that Laurel Avenue project that was already identified in the 2023 to 2027 CIP.
And what are your thoughts about the 2 ratings then, since
Yeah.
we're doing 3s before 2s? Help me understand, just because there happens to be a lot of 2s in, especially in the downtown district.
They pretty much will need a full reconstruction.
And so,
Basically, the cost is just a lot higher to do those roads.
so
So you can do less.
is a recommendation just to keep shoving those or pushing those further and further out?
I think that, yeah, at some point you do need to tackle them. So it's just kind of a balance of, you know, do you want to just hit all the 2s but then leave everything else to go bad, you know, where this is kind of trying to balance like hitting those roads that you don't want them to get to a 2, but they're maybe getting, you know, they're going to be close and then you're just going to be adding it versus being able to do 1 block at a time. So I think we just need a balance. The projects, which we are a little bit like O'Neill Road is a 2. We're hitting that. You know, Malibu Drive is a 2. So I think throwing them in the mix with trying to do everything else, just trying to balance it. But you know, if they're, I printed off the map of all the 2s. It's like if we were to reconstruct all of the 2s, how much would that cost? I don't know off the top of my head. But
That one time.
Yes.
yeah. So
Well,
Yeah, I
and-
mean, they're,
18 million.
we have checked off like the whole North Street project at the water main that had a few twos. Like we've got that done.
Are there any that can be tied to, because that was tied to a utility project?
Right,
Are there
yes.
other ones that we can tie to a utility project that are more twos in the area?
I think that's definitely something to discuss, as especially the downtown area has a lot of old utilities that do need replacing. So that's something I guess maybe the utility commission and like KIP kind of has to look into a little bit, but that's something I could, discuss with him as well.
so looking at the two map, so Malibu Drive, 2. Vine Street was a 2 from the school district to the YMCA. We got that one done. The big 2s that are left in the historical part is Walnut Street, 9th Street, and then there's 5 like random blocks that are 2s, just 1 block stretches. The issue, like Aaron said, is in the downtown district, those are full reconstructions because you're not going to go in there and replace just the surface because all the utilities are 120 plus years old. So we put together the program, and it's ultimately up to you and council what you'd like to do. You can kind of spread the money out like we kind of have showing, or you can choose to hit all the 2s, or you can choose to do just one big project and let's just do Walnut Street and get that done. So like you said, there's more than enough roads that need replacement and reconstruction, Mike, and it's just how do we balance
Right.
everything in districts, and so it's tough discussions for sure.
I think that's all I'll present for now, so if we want to have more discussion or more questions.
Well, I would like to ask you about the dollar amounts. This has been a few years now that we've had money in mind for the alleys, curb and sidewalk, and then trail maintenance of 50,000. And I know at least one time we combined, instead of doing it every year for economy of scale, we paused a year and then did a bigger amount so that we can maybe get a more competitive bid. Is that enough money? Are we spending enough there? We hear so much concern about pedestrian walkways, bicycle access throughout the city. The trails that we have in place are really deteriorating, and that concerns me. I just was interested in discussion from council, input from staff on that amount and how you see us going forward. Anyone have thoughts on that?
Well, I have been thinking about this when I am struggling to sleep. How are we going to possibly get all these roads done? How are we possibly going to take care of our trails, our sidewalks, the areas that don't have sidewalks? I mean, these are things that just so you
Keep us
know.
awake at night.
Yeah, and I never realized how important this was until I became an elected official.
It's me. You signed up for it, didn't you? I know.
I had no
But
idea.
We learned.
We're here.
I know. Absolutely.
And it is really important. And, is there ever anything where this goes to like a referendum, like to this community? Look, this is the situation we're in. Our options are to kind of continue as we're doing at this 2.5 million, or, to bond so we can put more money into our roads and let the community decide. Can we do something like that? Why did you say that? Why didn't you call me first?
Yeah, that would be a question you'd ask before the meeting.
Sorry. Lesson learned.
Well, that's,
I don't know.
yeah, everyone that refers to the levy bill that controls our spending based on our growth, some people like to look at it as your override option, which is a referendum. It's a referendum trigger bill. It's like the community, just the way it's set up in Wisconsin, our school districts are required to go to referendum for these major infrastructure things, et cetera. So yes, we absolutely could. We'd be asking the taxpayers, would you be willing that we tax you more? And it could be structured in a way to say, this is a 3-year deal.
Right.
It's going to expire in 3 years. This is what it would cost you, or to the best of our estimates. That's the other challenging thing, isn't it, about being on Public Works, is when we find out what things cost, what we were hoping they cost, and then they are often more. But I mean, I do think we could do that. The council obviously would have to approve or move that forward. And then, yeah, I'd have to go to a citywide referendum, most likely at a regular election time.
And I recognize that we've really increased the amount of money that we're spending on roads, right?
Yes.
I think even in the time that I've been here, at one point it was $1 million, then it went to 1.5, and now we're up to 2.5. So we have dramatically increased, but it's just not enough to keep up with the deterioration.
Correct.
And so what are our options? Okay, we either keep going as we are, right? Which is not meeting the demands, or we look at a referendum, or we look at other ways to get money. Is it some kind of local tax, which I know would not go over well. And so that's why I'm thinking if we turn it back to the residents and let them actually guide this discussion.
Get their input, certainly, that discussion. I do have one specific question about trail maintenance. I know that because some of them are deteriorating, we might have to do a complete reclamation.
Yeah, reclamation.
Is it possible to purchase, I mean, that's a unique size.
Yeah.
It's on a roadway. Is it possible to purchase a piece of equipment that our own staff could operate, or is that
Yep.
cost prohibitive?
No, they make, they're called asphalt zippers.
Okay.
Basically, they fit on the front of a wheel loader. And it's
Okay.
basically a self-propelled unit, has its own engine. And yes, we could reclaim our own trails, and then we would hire, obviously, Monarch to come back and pave them.
Come in and pave them, but
Yeah.
it would be a way,
It would be a way, yeah.
keeping up, I mean, it's the same quandary. Do we put in more while what we have is deteriorating? To keep the maintenance of those up is important. Anyway, thank you for that discussion. Did you have any other comments, Mr. Kennedy?
No, I mean, and I appreciate the balance we're trying to strike, try to spread it a little bit everywhere, get the pain points. I know that O'Neill has been something that it's in my district, but also I use it, and I'm surprised that it's a 2. I'd give it a 1.5.
Right. Yeah.
I put that as our worst, if we're giving out awards, that's gotta be one of the worst condition streets. But no, there's no easy answer. To do a referendum like that, I think a step before that would be we as a council would tell people we're going to max out our levy rate, which is an additional. I don't know that answer. I don't think any of us do.
I
But
don't either.
we could find another, I'll say $6 million and max our maximum tax levy that we could do. And obviously, no city council person or mayor or anyone would say, I'm all for that. Let's keep, let's max it out. But then the alternative is, hey, if you do want to pay higher taxes on a volunteer type thing, vote for this, this additional money. I don't know how that would go over. It's not our job to decide or pick that. But I think the first step would be let's raise taxes to address this road stuff. And that would be that's basically us doing our job. If we deem that's needed or the right thing to do, and then once you go up over and above that, that's I think when you trip the levy. So, yeah, that was my 2 cents.
Thank you. Good comments. Thank you for the discussion. Okay, so next item under new business, discussion possible action to approve the sale. Did you want us to vote on this? I beg your pardon.
I mean,
moving this
I don't
along.
think
I'm so sorry.
there's,
Beg your pardon.
I think just talking about it, there's really nothing to approve at the moment, I would
Okay.
say.
No, I mean, not. Yeah, it's kind of a chicken before the egg, that type of
Yeah.
thing. So obviously, you really can't approve it because we don't know how much money we're bonding, right?
Yeah.
At council level. You might have a discussion where you're only bonding 1 million in 2020. Not that that's gonna, who knows, right? So I think it's kind of futile to approve this plan before we even know what we're gonna be bonding for. But when we do have those bonding discussions, obviously we will have this plan prepared for you and the rest of the council to view as far as what we are thinking as staff. And we can have an open discussion at that place, so.
That
sound
makes
right?
sense.
And then I guess, you know, since I did mention, like, we can't do all of this really if we're not gonna bond for a little bit more, you know, with taking into account like the Locust Street. So I guess, are there things that, you know, if we were to pare it down, is there any thoughts on what kind of we would remove at this point? Or is everyone like, you know what, let's really, you know, push to bond for an extra, you know, 325,000 or?
Just pretend we don't have it and put it towards the.
Don't put him in that
Okay,
position
okay,
tonight,
okay.
no.
Well,
Just think about it.
Okay.
Just to think about it, yes.
Well,
Just have it in the back of your head. Once we kind of know where we're going, hopefully, they are actually might be able to get the borings done this week on O'Neill. So maybe in a month, we'll know a little bit more on that too. And so, yeah, just keep it in the back of your head. I just didn't want you guys to see this plan, and then if you see something in the future and something's removed, to be surprised.
Would it be helpful with respect to the extra, was it 600,000 or the extra money from the grant money? Would it be helpful to know, personally, I would like us to stay at our commitment of the 200, or the 2.5 million plus that extra money? And
Yes.
so we,
Yeah, I
So-
mean, that would definitely, we need to
because
know
maybe
that.
that
and
could
I
go towards the
think-
locust or,
Yeah, I don't know when the next time with the budgeting, is that, when do you bring that up with Brent for the next council discussion, or,
I don't recall.
oh, okay. So, yeah, I don't know, yeah, that would definitely be an answer we would need.
And-
Yeah, and I think that will be probably settled when you guys are looking at the
Okay.
budget, kind of thing.
Does the plan, the funding then that you had identified as $150,000, you wouldn't need to have that authorized until 2025? And that could still keep you on schedule?
Yeah, with
So if we-
Locust, yeah, I think, yeah.
Well, I am
Yeah.
definitely in favor of finding a way to do that.
Yeah,
Because that's the only way we can really, for one, take advantage of our in-house engineering. When we can, is to give you plenty of time
Yeah.
to work
Mm-hmm. Yep.
on it, and also to oversee if we do have to bring an outside contractor.
Yes, yeah.
That you have plenty of time to make sure they're doing what we want them to do, and
Yes, exactly.
so I'm all in favor of that. I think it's really good to get an early start on those things, so.
Yeah.
I'm committed to finding that money.
Yeah.
But yes, some of the decision-making will come down to the budget, the decision on bonding. So if I'm not mistaken, Mike, we'll, as a committee, once we know the bonding, our committee first will go over these streets in another discussion, make our recommendation, and then the council will have a final vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I told you prior to our meeting, I think October 7th is the next time council's gonna be talking about the budget and CIP,
Okay, yep,
if I recall.
yep.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that after those meetings, we would have a pretty good idea of what the appetite is for the bonding over the next couple of years, where we can start having those conversations back here and approving some projects so that our design team can start putting plans and specs together for bidding.
sounds good.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Great. Okay, so then the next item is discussion possible action to approve the sale of pallet racking located at 2101 O'Neill Road.
Yep. So 2101 O'Neill Road is the Public Works facility, or the new Public Works facility. Currently, there is a lot of pallet racking located inside of the building based on the previous tenant. And so I had reached out to some pallet resellers in the Twin City metro area. 3 of them to be exact. 2 of them got back to me. They declined to make an offer on the pallets, or the pallet racking, just because it wasn't something that they were interested in. Had another lead from Mr. Kennedy that fell through. So I'm at the point now where I'm kind of out of leads of companies that do this for a living or that need it. And so I'm looking for authorization from this committee to list this on a surplus auction website for the sale. And per our purchasing policy, anything over $5,000 is supposed to go through committee and council for approval. So,
Move to approve the sale of pallet racking from the 2101 O'Neill Road property.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to allow the sale of pallet racking, which our Public Works Director will handle. Just wanted to make a further comment before our vote that this is, these were items that were used by the prior owner of the building.
Yep.
So it was just included, left behind in the sale, nothing that the city has used or needs to use. So we would like to remove it from the facility and hopefully we'll garner some money out of it, some funds. So, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. And that has been approved. Then under old business, we're going to have a discussion or a Public Works facility update tonight.
Yep, so I had sent you out a couple of documents last Friday. So based on the design that we received from Cedar Corp, they presented at our last meeting. Kraus Anderson put together some numbers, some estimating numbers based on what we were originally wanting to do. The number came in $2 million over our current budget, reconstruction budget, which is $3.7 million. Okay. And so based on that initial estimate, myself, Joy, and Brent met with Kraus Anderson and Cedar Corp to discuss things that we could maybe pare back at this point in time. Those included, a new generator, some of the mechanicals that need to be replaced on the roof. We can limp them by, security gates, things that aren't a need, more right now to be operational. And so based on those conversations, we were able to reduce about $1 million out of the budget, out of the reconstruction budget. So we're still, based on that last estimate, about 1.1 over reconstruction budget. So I have a meeting with Kraus Anderson, myself and Mike Johnson and Brent on Wednesday to discuss maybe further options to reduce that number, building materials, maybe size of the asphalt pad, brine room, just things that we can start to continue to kind of whittle that number down. The other thing is, in the estimate, you'll notice that we're bidding the sign shop edition as an alternate that is taken out of the budget. And Joy had asked prior to the meeting. So the sign shop is, it's not just a sign shop making stop signs, street signs. It's an area where we house all of our traffic signal components, where we do traffic signal repairs, where we do street lighting repairs. Currently, we do those at the west shop. There's a single garage bay that we basically do that out of. And so at the new facility, we really don't have a spot during this phase one of the project, just because of the amount of space that we have, storage, mechanic bays, so on and so forth, that I would look to add that to the building so that we would have that dedicated space, not only for phase one, phase two in the future. If we don't go through with that project, we'd obviously have to keep it at its current location. So then we would have 2 employees over here on one side of town where the rest of the guys are on the other side. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind right now. It is bid as an alternate, but we'll try to, like I said, find ways that we can incorporate that into the building.
So if it's at the west garage, so what you're saying, if we were really pressed on our budget,
Yeah.
that's still operational. However, if as a city, we wanted to move forward with exploring the sale of that property,
Correct.
then we wouldn't be prepared for that move.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the catch-22 is if we keep some operations in there, then we're kind of not stuck.
Still using
Yeah,
it,
still
right.
using it,
We'd
right,
have to
so-
have a plan.
Yeah.
And so, my understanding that you are adding on an addition, so the current building is such that you need a specified area separate?
Yep.
Okay,
Exactly.
thank you.
Yep. And it's already kind of, there's 3 walls. It's basically filling in an area. It's putting up 1 wall, concrete, and then obviously lighting and so on and so forth. So I think that the preliminary estimate for that addition was about $500,000 for that room.
Okay.
Does it make, or when are we thinking of getting pricing on selling those 2 properties? Because if we're at 1.1 million over, and if we sell those 2 properties and it's in that vicinity, it just seems,
I had them appraised about 4 years. Was it pre-pandemic? 5 years ago? I always refer to things like pre-pandemic. I think it was before COVID. So I mean,
Okay.
obviously prices are different now, maybe with the types of properties that we have. I mean, it might make sense to get them reappraised and just have an idea of what they would be on an open market.
I think for me, that would be a helpful thing as we make this decision, because if it's, you know, it doesn't necessarily make sense to keep, I mean, it's
Yeah.
all speculation now, so, but I think when it's time to make the decision, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can,
Right, because one might do well to pay for the other, so.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that pallet
Absolutely.
racking, that's 3 million. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
it's gotta be at least, right?
If only your
No, but
guy
I
had
mean-
come through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does kind of get back to kind of home ec of before I spend this money, if there's something else coming in to pay for it. It would be helpful to kind of have all those pieces. I know they're different budgets and we can't just move them around like that, but it'd be helpful to know
Yeah.
big picture. This building, as you say, painfully, you know, hey, it's over budget by $1 million, but I think a lot, you know, what people don't realize, we have some properties that could be sold that, you
Offset
know,
the
that would
cost.
offset or even more than that. So big picture, it's not as drastic as it sounds right now.
Right, and I definitely support the idea of all of the staff working together there. I mean, that's been one of our
Right.
goals in this, is to have better work environment, and, you know, sort of easier for supervision,
Yeah.
training, et cetera, safety issues, that, you know, there's more people around, all of that. So I appreciate, though, and I really appreciate your approach of, you're very hands-on and thinking, well, okay, we could maybe delay this. Of course, we know we could have expenses
Oh, yeah.
sooner
And
than later.
it kinda-
There's some things that we're hoping work for a few years. But we are also, if I'm not mistaken, getting some rent from someone who is currently occupying the building
Yes.
as well. So we're not really getting to count that as income to
Right.
pay off our, but it does help the city coffers.
Yeah.
That it's helping to pay for that building.
I think it is paying for some of the debt service on the borrowed money, if I recall.
But I think
Yeah.
that you're right, as an accountant, they are
Yeah.
using that. But we don't get to
No,
necessarily
no.
redecorate or
No,
anything.
no, no.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. And I appreciate your really, like you said, sharpening your pencil and trying to see what can we can postpone, how can we economize
Yeah, thank you.
on the construction. Appreciate that, all your work. Any other comments on that update? That ends our old business. So now we do have several project updates, including the reconstruction of Green Street. How are we doing?
Yeah, we're doing great. It's paved, so essentially the project's done. All the driveways are in, the final lip of pavement is on. So it's pretty much just clean up, let's get the grass to grow. That's always, with On Vine 2, we're obviously gonna be going through phases to try to get the grass to look better on Vine. So that's kind of the last part of the project, but yeah, Green Street is done and, you know, open for business, so.
It's great.
Yeah,
And Vine Street's nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Down?
Yes,
Yep.
looks really good.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
How
then-
about the update?
oh,
Yeah,
yep,
2024 for our sidewalk and alley replacement project.
Yep, so that we approved the bid from Zappa and we're going to plan to do the pre-construction meeting next Tuesday, 9/17. And so we don't know a schedule yet exactly. You know, the overall project shouldn't take very long, so once we get that schedule, we'll definitely be putting out like door hangers or get something in the mail for all the adjacent residents for what the timing of that's gonna be. So we probably won't know that till next week.
And in the contract, there is a completion date.
Yeah, yep, so. Needs to be
October-
completed this year.
Was it October?
We might have pushed it like as far as we could, just
Yeah.
kind of because of the late bidding, but yeah, I mean, he needs to get it done this year,
Yeah.
so.
So there is a sense of urgency for him.
And once
Yeah.
they get started, like, one of the alleys shouldn't be.
It's not gonna take very long, no.
Okay, like a
So-
week?
Well,
2
probably
weeks?
more than a week.
2 weeks? Okay.
I'm not gonna say, cause
Okay.
I don't know.
Don't
I
say
have-
that. Yeah, don't say that.
It kind of,
Trying to
it
trap
doesn't.
us.
depend-
7.5
Yeah, it-
days.
It is like cornering you.
Yeah,
yeah. No.
depends, you know, on Gary.
I'm not intentionally cornering you.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice that it is a local company that got the contract.
Yeah, yep.
So they certainly know our town and the layout very
Yeah.
well. And I know we had, as a council, we had also approved that they could start a little bit earlier in the
Yes,
morning. So
yep,
since
in
they'll
the
be
downtown.
working in the downtown area where
Yep.
they may make it as smooth as possible for business owners and
Yes.
people coming and going to those businesses.
Good idea.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's good, good
Yeah.
planning, thank you. Appreciate that. Any other comments about sidewalks and alleys? Okay, and then how about anyone that has a communication or an item for future agenda? Any other thoughts? All right, thank you. Then I'll take a motion for adjournment.
We'll move to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.